able to bridge the distance between us and the other, we must uncover our image in his mind. We take a look at the issues the other finds important and discover the truth as it stands on the other side. We and the other live together in this world, and there is no way to live in perfect harmony without communication. Mr. Muhammad Ali Musa has worked outside the UAE for long periods of time, enabling him to meet individuals from a variety of countries. He feels that each individual should mirror his culture. Through this, a strong relationship between himself and Mr. Van Bourgh, who is in management of a large Swiss company, was built. Mr. Poul Van Bourgh grew to learn more of the UAE and grew to love the country, as well as his relationship with Mr. Musa. Our show captured his views in the beautiful home of Mr. Ali Musa. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to We and the Other. Today we talk with Poul Van Bourgh, who is in management of a large Swiss company. Thank you for joining us, Paul.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, to start off with, could you tell us a little bit about your life before moving to the UAE?
Well, I was born in a small place, in a small village in Switzerland, and brought up in a small family with two other brothers. And growing up also with dogs, with pets, and we were always a hunting family. And later on I moved into commercial after the studies, and I was always fond of reading since my childhood.
Mm-hmm. And so what brought you to the UAE?
Well, it was business.
Okay.
I traveled for the very first time to the UAE in 2001. Mm-hmm. And on the way I landed in Abu Dhabi, coming from Kuwait, and then traveling via land to Dubai Internet City, where I had the first business meeting.
Okay.
And lucky that this expatriate receiving me there showed me then some places, and he mentioned there the very first time, he showed me the painting, the drawing of the Palm Island. Mm-hmm. Of course, when I've seen it, I almost couldn't believe it, that it will be one through. But he said they will do it. So, well, I was watching and opening the eyes and following that.
Okay. So, during the time that you lived in Switzerland, did you interact a lot with Arabs and Muslims?
No. I had no contact at all, and also not about Islam, about Muslims. The first time I've heard about a Muslim really was when my wife, and I am very privileged to have a wife coming from another culture, from an Oriental culture, which is very much enriching. Mm-hmm. Over 32 years I'm now married with this personality from Thailand. Mm-hmm. She mentioned that in her country there is also a Muslim minority, mm-hmm. and that they have a very good understanding. Mm-hmm. And so that I got the very first impact, a very positive informations on Islam and on Muslim.
Okay, so before you moved to the UAE, your perceptions of Muslims and Islam in general were fairly good?
It was very positive.
Okay,
yes.
And so now that you are here, how have your interactions been, and have your perceptions changed in any way? Well,
the deep and very positive perception even broadened it, and the roots became deeper, because I also believe the rare privilege to have local friends. Mm-hmm. And so I have home in Georgia and also with the family in Jumeirah, mm-hmm. which I think is a privilege, and it's very much enriching for me. Mm-hmm. And this is motivating always. So when I'm leaving home in Switzerland, mm-hmm. I'm still living mainly there. Mm-hmm. I don't say I'm going to a business trip mm-hmm. every month. I'm just going to my other home, mm-hmm. to my dear friends in Georgia, Muhammad Ali Musa and Nakbi. Mm-hmm. I met him on the trip for the IMF mm-hmm. in 2003. I met him in the aeroplane. Mm-hmm. So it was a great coincidence meeting him, and then he invited me spontaneously to the home. Okay. Then I came the very first time mm-hmm. to Georgia.
Okay, great. So what to you is the importance of religion in a person's life, just in general?
Well, I believe religion is essential for all people. people and the humans need religions for guidance, to make sense to the life, to rules in life, to live together in communities. I think in all the religions there are the basics laid down for coexistence, for moving together and moving forward for a better life.
You mentioned that your wife is from Thailand, of Asian ethnicity. So obviously there are cultural differences between you and her. How do you deal with these cultural differences?
Well, it is the differences are always challenging, and all challenges are also a chance. So those differences, I consider them always as enriching and strengthening values which I learned from her, or I got reinforced on such values, which were or still are more and more evading and lost in European westernized cultures. That's what I find a pity, and that's how I also learned about Islam. And she mentioned to me that strict rules are applied in the Thai minority in Islam, to behave and on the discipline, and those are terms which were for me first really positive issues I learned about this religion.
Great. So you haven't lived in the UAE very long, but you've obviously been following its growth for the past 5 years now or so, since you came here in 2001. What do you think of the UAE's growth?
Well, it's simply amazing, and it's getting more and more momentum and respect. It's getting more and more respect and recognized in Switzerland. There were over the last few weeks or months more and more reports about the UAE. It's not anymore just or simply a destination where people can spend, middle-class people can spend in summer holidays, cheap holidays in luxury hotels. It became now much more, and also reports in the most reputable newspaper about the UAE economy. For example, on the investments, how do oil exporting countries invest the surplus on the increased prices? And I was very happy to read that article, and I had it translated for my friends in the UAE and also other GCC countries, because it made very clear that the UAE is an ideal, a model for all other oil exporting countries. How to invest those revenues for the future, not just spending or using it for welfare to create a bunch of, or a mass of people receiving social subsidies. Here they are investing for the future to create work, to attract other workers from other countries, to exist and to live and to build up a macro economy. So the very famous book From Sand to Silicon is a business model.
Of course. So what do you think that while the UAE is experiencing this economic boom, it's losing out on its culture or its heritage? Do you think it's still retaining that bit of its traditional values?
Well, I cannot have a real opinion on UAE in particular, on these progresses or on such changes. But this, I think, is a danger and a threat which is happening to everywhere. We have seen that already in the past, in other cultures, in Far Eastern cultures, that there, and then it is changing more and more, or as we put it, westernized, with other speed and rhythm of life and other values just switching to consumer good oriented. So I hope very much, and I'm very confident that in this culture with the very strong roots and the rhythm in the religion, as well in the tradition, which is also reflected by the locals wearing the dishdash, the local dress. I'm more optimistic, or very optimistic, that here it can be kept alive, the old traditions, for far longer. But it is certainly a threat for the young and for the next generation then in particular.
Thank you. And do you believe that a majority of the Western world have somewhat incorrect or bad, so to speak, perceptions of Arabs and the Muslim world in general?
There you are touching a very sensitive issue, because I think we must know the past to understand the present, and then we can endeavor to the future. This is more or less a quote from Khalil Gibran, which I love and read a lot. But to understand the past, I think the West should know much better than the Arab from all the different imperiums the world has seen, the Persian Imperium, the Roman Imperium, and then much later, or then later following, the Arab Imperium. It was only the Arab Imperium who left traces that profound until now, which was the Arab one. Because only in the Arab Imperium, still the people from Oman can understand and speak with people from Morocco and have the same writings, the same language. It's the only empire left such traces. And of course, we are all formed by our environment, in our youth, by the nature. So I get other influences in the Swiss Alps or in my area than a young Omani gets in his environment. So I want to say with this example that people from the Gulf are certainly different than people from the high Atlas. It's a very different environment and a different world. But the basic values are the same. So I mean that the world now should not generalize, but we are unfortunately in a period, in the hectic of a period of simplifications. So the term Arab should be looked at very differently.
Okay. Do you believe that that both worlds, both the Arab and the Western world, have, I mean, these perceptions and assumptions that you were talking about, mostly influenced by the media? Do you think they're influenced quite a lot by what the media says?
Yes, of course. Very much so by the media, because we are living in the time of simplifications, headlines. People has time only to read headlines instead to go in depth and see the differences. But going back to another question that you asked already, now also from the extremes we have seen, talking about Arab and Islam, with a negative perception, with also in connection with what's ongoing in the present war and so on. But I believe the people is now also starting for more differentiation, to see that the Islam has nothing to do with how the religion is misused. And in the history, every religion has been by extremists misused.
Yes. Is what the Arab world doing enough to give the West a fairly good impression of them?
Well, it's not on me to judge or to judge and to make to give their final answer. But I believe it always can be done more, and it could be done more. I'm very sure about that. Also for the information on Islam. Now, with those negative events and developments we had over the last few years, and this negative image, and I see it in my very personal environment, people is starting to ask questions. Are we wrong informed? And I see that from my very own experience. I'm always curious for a new culture, and having friends here, and having got the honor and the privilege that from the family in Georgia, Fahad offered me a Quran in an English and Arabic version. That, of course, I'm privileged, and I'm reading and learning by listening to them and being told. But I am convinced that the Western should be informed much more. Because when I'm talking about my informations, and I did cultural trips to Al-Andalus and later on to Morocco to see the roots, how the light came back to Europe via the Islamic culture. And then when I'm asked from my colleagues and I see what they know, or to put it in the correct way, what they don't know, I think it should be more, they should be informed more proactively. To strengthen and to create awareness for the common roots and what we owe to the Orient. And there was once in the Middle Age a term in Latin, ex oriente lux. Lux means light, and the light comes from the Orient. And we have got so many things from the Orient. And I was on a congress in the UAE. I was talking about the IT infrastructure in my company. I showed a document with the very first figures there, only the first document from 935 with Arabic figures and Spanish handwriting. Or I showed to one of our mathematicians in the bank, I showed him a document with the Pascal triangle. Well, he didn't know, and I don't know Arabic to read. And then he said, well, that's the Pascal triangle. I said, no, that's not from the famous mathematician. This is the original in Eastern Arabic handwriting. So, but you see, the very basics, and he had no idea from Al-Khwarizmi, inventing the decimal counting. That's what I find is a pity, or also about the doctor. And that's why I'm creating regularly for my visits here, as I call them, creative cultural cards. And always in a specific subject, mentioning to the people, to my friends, there are a number of friends interested in culture, that I'm sending such cards, like this one. This shows an astrolabe, and it is the most famous, perfect astrolabe ever built by Al-Zarraj in Aleppo, 1322. And just, I take this card now at first, because this week I had the honor to offer a replica of this astrolabe to very important people in the UAE as a gift. So the original of this astrolabe is in the Belaki Museum in Athens, and there is in Switzerland a personality who is making replicas, perfect replicas. It's written in Kufic writings, and it is most perfect. So why should I bring to VIP people here a Swiss watch when this is a perfect pocket watch from the 13th century? And I stress in my letters inside, first to make the people see the beauty of calligraphy on time. And then I have a quote from Khalil Gibran, on time, master what of time, an astronomer said, and is time even as love is, undivided and paceless? And then I always quote Hermann Hesse, or another Westerner writer, preferably Hermann Hesse. The high appraisal of the minute, the haste as the prime cause of our way of life, is without doubt the arch-enemy of pleasure. And Hesse, he wrote this in 1899, and that's exactly what we are living in. The haste, the hassle. And, or about Lulu, I made a card. That's again, Lulu came from the Arabian Gulf via Athens to Europe. And then I wrote a story about the Lulu, and then here again, that was one of the first cards. Here again, the calligraphy. With a quote on Gibran above in Arabic, writing, if you wish to gather pearls from the sea, you must dive deep, move boldly towards the future. And I have the privilege that the personality in Sharjah, in his jewelry factory, was dictating to his general manager a beautiful poem from pre-Islamic time about Lulu fishing. It is a beautiful poem, and I enclosed this, of course, and this was a lesson for me in modesty. I have asked the best translators for a translation. They said, either we ruin our reputation or we ruin the poem. It was almost, the Arabic language is obviously so rich that it's almost impossible to translate. Anyway, after all the efforts, even by asking senior people in Cairo, I got the content, the story out of the poem. And then I'm sending this card. For example, here I was enclosing in a small plastic bag very small Lulus. And again I say, this is a gift from the Orient to the Occident, the Lulu. We learned it from here. Same about gold. I said gold here is presented opulently, very different, rich. But the value of gold is since thousands of years the same in the Orient as in the Occident. And then I said, I am closing, and then I used quotes. Quotes in the Orient as well as in the Occident. Gold, not all that glitters is gold. So there are many quotes or the similar words expressing the very same in the Orient and Occident. So that's surprising. And I was very much impressed, and I think this was really something great, that His Highness Sheikh Sultan Al-Qasimi sponsored a book, sponsored a translation into German about sayings, proverbs, because there we can learn the normal people what we have all in common. Very, very simple quotes that you use, that I use, my friend Mohammed is using them, and it means the same, the very same, and different words. So then I'm sending with the gold letter leaf from fall in the golden color from the ginkgo tree. The ginkgo tree is the eldest tree in the world. And it looks somehow twofold, this leaf. Then I said, there is a poem from Goethe who said, you see, then I used a photo like this, showing how the Goldzug.
Yes.
For us Europeans, say, how can somebody wear jewelry like this, you know, in the superficial prejudice. But it's differently. It's filigrane craftsmanship, opulently presented, as I say. And then I enclosed, you see, then I enclosed a golden leaf here at the bottom. A golden leaf of the ginkgo, and it is twofold. And Goethe said in a poem from the West Eastern Divan, and thus from places far away, these leaves bears words of finest gold. And I have this leaf, an original leaf of this from a tree, from my village, put in a jewelry shop in the gold. So it's 18 karat gold. And I hope that I can offer it once to honor the efforts that His Highness is doing to a personality like him. It's still in the vault in Dubai, as I don't have had that opportunity to present to a senior personality here. So also a project idea to promote Islamic culture in the West. Well, you see the ginkgo leaf as looking like twofold. We split somehow in the middle. And so I want to say, I said with this leaf looks like twofold, like Orient and Occident. But it is the same. So we are in the basic the same humans with the same needs and desires and wishes and dreams. So it's no difference. Just at first sight, superficially, it's different.
Okay. Could you share your thoughts with us, Paul, on the Palestinian situation at the moment?
Well, I have offered, last year I brought from Switzerland an olive tree, an holy olive tree, to my friend Mohammed. And this olive tree is growing in his house, in his garden. And in Switzerland there is a peace movement, Women for Peace, supporting Palestinian families in the West Banks, where the olive trees comes from. I didn't know that. That's also an example how I have to learn here. A Palestinian friend here told me that the olive trees are coming from Palestine. I didn't know that. I thought, well, Mediterranean tree from Italy, they are very famous in marketing, but it has the origin in the Palestine, the West Banks. So this organization, Women for Peace, is distributing and selling the olive tree in Switzerland, and with the money they get out, they are supporting poor olive farmers. And the Swiss people, we are somehow, well, we are always politically neutral, but of course we support the human rights for peace, for living and existing. And that's what I think is happening with a growing more and more sympathy for the people, that they have the right for a good and fair existence in their own land.
Okay. Recently there's been kind of an insult geared towards the Prophet Muhammad in Islam in Danish newspapers in a sort of cartoon that's recently been published. What is your take on that?
I haven't seen those caricatures, happily not. I think it is most inappropriate to make any caricatures in a humoristic way whatsoever on religion, whatever religion is involved. I find this is most tasteless. Tasteless is not even a strong, correct word.
Paul, could you tell us what your first impressions were when you came to Sharjah?
Well, on the way from Dubai to Sharjah, I've just seen the high-rising buildings and nothing special. And then we arrived at a roundabout, and it really made me speechless. Nowhere in the world, and as I mentioned, I am reading a lot of books since my youth, I have seen a roundabout with a book in it. And then I said, oh wow, wonderful, here I feel home. And then I've seen other beautiful buildings, and driving along a university, big buildings. I didn't even know that's a university. Then finally we found, with some difficulties, the home I was invited to of Mohammed. And then later on he arranged that, he showed me, he went with me to see the university. And I must tell you, I was speechless. I was speechless. We all know in Europe, and we say that the Arabs are sending, or from the Gulf, they're sending their young people to Europe to the leading universities. As money is in general not an issue, but education is the most important. But then I've seen this university out of nothing, out of the desert. And then they managed also for me, my friends, that I could see even before the official opening, the airport museum, which was stunning and very impressive. And later on, I was accompanied by my friend Mohammed to the Museum for Wildlife, which is also made in a perfect modern way and style of the presenting of the mammals and of the animals and the creatures. So I was very much impressed, and I was then also told that Sharjah was once, in '98, I believe, the Arab capital of culture. Or the cultural Arab capital, I'm not so sure. But I think this should really be strengthening those efforts to create the awareness in the West, in the Europe, for this heritage. That all what we got in Europe, not only the mathematics, the medicine, the Arabic medicine, that's something to be elaborated for. I could talk about it for hours. But I asked recently a young doctor, same as I asked the mathematicians, do you know about Arabic medicine, about Ibn Sina? And the canon, the main work of Ibn Sina was the basic work for medicine in Europe until the 18th century. And I tell you, the university, they don't mention it at all anymore. They have no clue. The only what they hear is what is superficially critical or negative in general. But this joint heritage, and medicine is an excellent example, but it is not known at all. And I think this should be promoted much stronger.
Is there anything, finally, that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, what I say very often to my friends is what I'm dreaming of, and we all should have dreams, that once in a while it might be happened and religions have a coexistence and living together as Granada, Cordoba in the golden time, when they were a spiritual, cultural capital of the old world, and all the religions have been living together in peace, some more balanced and helping each other. And that's what I think should be really the goal, and what we all have to hope and to last for.
Okay, great. Thank you, Paul.
It's my pleasure being here.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week for more on We and the Others. To be able to bridge the distance between us and the other, we must uncover our image in his mind. We take a look at the issues the other finds important and discover the truth as it stands on the other side. We and the other live together in this world, and there is no way to live in perfect harmony without communication.